Now, I'm sure some of my regular viewers of my reviews must be saying to yourself, "Oh no, another Price is Right game review? How many times is he gonna review the same game?" Honestly, I wasn't planning on reviewing this game. I was only planning on playing it for fun, until I saw it was completely different from the other two Price is Right games for the Wii that I've already reviewed. I say it's different because there are no 3 strikes mode or single player full game mode. This time around it's only the most stripped down version of the game. However, does this simplicity make the game better to play? The answer is yeah, kinda. The story revolves around, yeah, I said story. There is an actual storyline in the single player game. The story is about you being charged with the task of labeling a box of VHS tapes of old Price is Right shows. Seriously, Ubisoft? VCR tapes? I get it for the shows in the 80s and 90s, but who is taping shows in the late 2000s? Anyways, after you watch the show, they'll put a label on the tape and put it on the shelf. Now, I don't know what kind of a person keeps a shelf of 1 tape a year of The Price is Right. The game starts out like the TV show, with the intros and words that come up to get you excited, and depending on the time period you're watching, the intros and the exciting sentences change. Then the camera will pan and find you in the audience, which was very easy for my Mii character. Just look for the palest character in the audience. Best put some sunglasses on, kids, cause it's gonna get bright. Ah, so white! Ah! The game is broken down into 4 sections like the real game. Contestants row where 3 other players try to get the closest price of the prize without going over. After that, you move on to a random pricing game. They usually have you guessing the prices of prizes in very fun and entertaining ways. I would get into more specifics, but they're all different, and it's impossible to pigeonhole them. After that, you go on to the Showcase Showdown, where you spin a wheel against another person to see who can get closest to $1 without going over. And if you win that, you and another person will go guess the price of 1 or 2 showcases without going over. The whole gimmick this time around is that all the correct prices for the prizes are for the time period. So you're going to often have to take wild guesses on how much stuff cost in those days. Now, overall, the gameplay hasn't changed at all from the other versions. However, the way you play it has been very dumbed down. Take the contestants' row, for example. You can't lose. The game will keep throwing prizes at you to price until you get one right. They also place you in the best possible position at the end of the line, so you can use the other players' guesses as a barometer for what you should guess. One of the problems that I ran up against was, when I would want to click past the announcer, you would just keep pushing the A button till you get to the part you want. However, you could accidentally skip the prize description, and you won't have a clue on what you're guessing, because they wouldn't put a picture of it in the corner like you would think they would, and it was very annoying at times. The wheel was the best and worst part of this new game. In both games, I was railing on the fact that the game cheats like crazy in this part, and I do have to say they fixed this by dropping the other people spinning. You will always be the last to spin, and the computer will always have a total to beat. Usually the number was somewhere between 70 and 85 cents, but sometimes I saw it go up to 95. I love this. It speeded up the part that was always the worst part of the Price is Right games. However, I knew the creators had to do something to screw it up, and they did, majorly. Spinning the wheel with the motion controls was just a joke. You could no longer spin it realistically. Now you're lucky if you get a full spin. It was so frustrating to do a big thrust downward only to have it barely spin. And it wasn't any better if you just pressed the A button. It did the same amount of a spin. In fact, all the motion controls in this whole game were completely broken. Don't even try to bother to get the ball in the hole-in-one game. It's an impossible feat with these controls. The pricing games were really fun this time around, and I have to give Ubisoft credit. They found some games that I've never even heard of, like this Professor game, which was only played twice in the real show. And that was for a good reason, because it was very confusing. It was part trivia game and part pricing game. Most of your favorites are here, like the Golden Road, Plinko, Cliffhanger, and most of the others you can think of. However, the Range game, Temptation, and Lucky 7 were all missing, which was strange. They had room in the tape collection since some of the years were just repeated pricing games with bigger prize amounts. Now, one of the more odd things was that when you do really well in a game, you'll be rewarded with fireworks when they show your score. However, it's a little disconcerting that they're firing them indoors right next to you. I would be so pissed. Guys, do you mind not firing those right next to me? My ears are bleeding. I can't even hear anymore. Now, just like the other games, you can unlock clips from the real show to watch. All you have to do is win the final showcase of the show. However, there is no real incentive to do this, since the clips were just awful.
Try higher.
Higher? No. I'm just going to lift this up and see if you're a winner. No. Was it here? No. Was it here? No. It was right there, folks.
Seriously, that's a clip you think is worth unlocking. Even though Drew's clips are terrible, Bob Barker's is not much better.
These three have been in contestants' row the entire first half of the show. Once in our history, we had 3 contestants stay down there for the entire show. Maybe you'll do it too, Miss Mo.
The clips in the first Price is Right game for the Wii were funny and worth the time to unlock them. The second one had all right clips, but these look like they just picked random moments and the creators just saying, yeah, that's good enough. There is also a multiplayer mode where you and a few friends can play the game, where you all play off the same prizes in pricing games. It was weird to play Punch a Bunch simultaneously with someone else. However, I do have to admit it did make the game faster to not have to wait for another player to take their turn. Price is Right Decades was fun. It was an interesting twist to try and figure out the prices of products in the 70s and 80s, as they were so much different in price. I did find this one a little bit more enjoyable to play than the other ones, mainly because of the pacing and all the new games to play. However, the lack of real incentive to replay any of these games and the terrible motion controls is going to make me say if you have any interest in playing this Price is Right game, you will enjoy the game, but you should only give it a rent.